All right, everyone, buckle up, because today we're going deep on Volkswagen. And let me tell you, things are getting a little bumpy for the people's car. Remember how they were absolutely crushing it in China for decades?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it seems like they might have missed a turn somewhere, because lately people have been jumping ship, especially in China.
Yeah, it really is fascinating to see how quickly things have changed for this automotive giant. Volkswagen was once synonymous with reliability, and they practically ruled the global market. And now they're facing a crisis that could change everything.
So let's unpack this, starting with a little trip back in time. Imagine you're in China back in 1983. The average person is making a measly $32 a year. Not exactly the economic powerhouse we know today.
Right.
Volkswagen, bold as ever, took a gamble and formed a joint venture with SAIC, a Chinese state-owned automaker.
And for a long time, that gamble looked like pure genius. China became Volkswagen's golden goose, their most profitable market, pumping out millions of cars like a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, for a while it seemed like nothing could slow them down.
Mm-hmm.
But then, all of a sudden, boom, sales nosedived, almost 20% in the first half of 2024. What happened? Well, you can't talk about the auto industry today without talking about the EV revolution, especially in China.
Absolutely. The Chinese government wasn't playing around when it came to pushing EVs. They rolled out some serious incentives, even offering free license plates to EV buyers in certain cities.
Wow.
We're talking about a perk worth something like $12,000 to $14,000.
That's a pretty strong nudge towards electric, wouldn't you say?
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the Chinese market responded. But here's the thing. As Volkswagen was trying to figure out this whole EV thing, a new player entered the game. BYD, a Chinese EV maker that seemed to come out of nowhere.
And they didn't just enter the game, they pretty much took over. BYD is now the world's biggest EV manufacturer, overtaking even Tesla. What's really interesting about BYD is they haven't just focused on making affordable EVs, they've also cracked the code on battery technology.
Okay, so break that down for us. What makes BYD's battery so special?
Well, BYD actually produces their own batteries, which gives them incredible control over the supply chain and costs. They've also pioneered something called the Blade battery, a lithium iron phosphate battery that's incredibly safe and durable.
So you've got Chinese consumers who are eager to embrace EVs, a government pushing electric like crazy, and then BYD shows up with these affordable tech-loaded cars with cutting-edge batteries.
Exactly. And where was Volkswagen in all of this? Well, they were trying to reinvent themselves as a software company, almost overnight, with their CariAd unit. Let's just say that plan backfired.
It's almost like they were trying to change a tire while driving at 100 miles per hour. Maybe not the best strategy.
Yeah. The launch of their ID.3, which was supposed to be their big EV debut, is a bit of a disaster. Software glitches galore, frustrated customers, delays, even their beloved Golf got caught in the software snafu. And all of this, of course, had a hefty price tag.
Yeah, we're not talking about a few parking tickets here. CariAd racked up a staggering $2.4 billion operating loss in 2023. That's billion with a B. So while BYD was soaring in China, Volkswagen was tripping over its own feet, desperately trying to get their software act together.
And to make matters worse, Volkswagen wasn't just dealing with software woes and a rapidly changing Chinese market. Remember that powerful group representing employees in Germany, the Works Council? Well, they have a lot of say in how Volkswagen operates in Germany. And they weren't too thrilled when the company announced the potential closure of 3 factories.
Whoa, 3 factories. That's unheard of for Volkswagen Germany. I mean, that's where their heart is, where their whole legacy was built.
It's a move that would have been unthinkable just a few years ago, and it really shows how deep this crisis runs.
And let's not forget those looming EU emissions regulations coming in 2025. If Volkswagen can't meet those EV targets, they could be slapped with some hefty fines, potentially billions of euros. They're basically walking a tightrope here. So it sounds like Volkswagen is getting squeezed from all sides. BYD is eating their lunch in China. They're facing pushback from their own workforce in Germany. And the EU is breathing down their neck with these strict emission targets. What's their plan to get out of this mess?
Well, they're not just sitting back and letting the world pass them by. They're making some strategic moves, trying to adapt to this new landscape. One of their big bets is on Brazil.
Brazil, like the land of samba and soccer.
That's the one. Volkswagen is hoping Brazil will become the next China for them. It's got a booming middle class that's hungry for cars, and the market isn't as saturated with EVs yet. Think of it as a bit of a second chance for Volkswagen to establish dominance in a major market.
That's an interesting play, but isn't it a bit risky? I mean, what makes them think they can succeed in Brazil when they're struggling so much in China?
It's a fair question. Brazil definitely presents its own unique challenges. The infrastructure for EVs isn't as developed as in China, and the political and economic landscape can be pretty volatile. But Volkswagen seems to believe that their brand recognition and experience in emerging markets will give them an edge.
So they're hoping to replicate their China playbook, but this time with electric cars.
Exactly. But they're also realizing that in this new world of EVs, they can't just rely on their old tricks. They've finally accepted that they need to be more competitive on price, especially if they want to stand a chance against the likes of BYD.
So they're entering the price war, but won't that further shrink their already thin profit margins?
It's a delicate balancing act. They're essentially caught between a rock and a hard place. If they don't lower prices, they risk losing even more market share. But slashing prices too aggressively could put a serious dent in their profitability.
It sounds like they need a Hail Mary.
Well, maybe not a Hail Mary, but they're definitely looking for some outside help. They've started forming strategic partnerships, tapping into the expertise of companies that are already ahead in the EV game.
Like who?
They've teamed up with XPeng in China and Rivian in the US, two companies that are known for their cutting-edge software and electric vehicle technology. It's a smart move to try and leverage the strengths of these agile players.
Okay, partnering with XPeng and Rivian sounds good in theory, but can Volkswagen really integrate their technology smoothly? I mean, their track record with Cariad hasn't exactly inspired confidence.
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Can a company with Volkswagen's size and legacy truly embrace the kind of rapid innovation and agility that's needed in the electric age, or will they get bogged down by bureaucracy and their own history?
And we can't forget about the human cost of all this. Those
Right.
potential factory closures in Germany could impact the lives of thousands of workers and their families.
Absolutely. This isn't just some abstract business story about market share and profits. It's a story about real people and the communities that depend on these jobs. Volkswagen's struggles are a stark reminder that the shift to electric vehicles is going to have ripple effects throughout the entire world, impacting not just the automotive industry, but societies as a whole.
It's a really big deal, and it makes me wonder about the symbolic significance of it all. We're talking about the company that gave us the Beetle, the Golf, the original people's car. Their name literally means people's car.
And now they're facing an identity crisis. The very thing that made them iconic, the combustion engine, is becoming obsolete, and they're scrambling to find their place in a world that's rapidly going electric.
I think that's what makes this whole story so fascinating, so relatable. It's a reminder that even the biggest giants can fall if they fail to adapt to a changing world. It makes you think about all the things we take for granted that might disappear in the blink of an eye.
And it makes you think about how we, as consumers, are shaping the future with our choices. Every time we choose an electric car over a gas-powered one, we're casting a vote for the future of transportation. We're part of this massive transformation.
It's exciting and a little bit terrifying all at the same time, wouldn't you say? But let's be honest. Who doesn't love a good comeback story?
Volkswagen has been around for almost a century. They've weathered their share of storms. Who's to say they can't reinvent themselves again?
Right. They've got the global network, the resources, the engineering talent. The question is, can they move fast enough, be bold enough to capture the hearts and minds of the electric generation?
Only time will tell. But it will be very interesting to see how this all plays out.
So we've talked about Volkswagen's incredible rise in China and how that success story has taken a turn for the worse. We've also looked at their missteps with software and their struggles to adapt to the electric revolution. But the question remains, what does the future hold for Volkswagen? Can they recapture their glory? Or is this the beginning of the end for the people's car?
It really is the big question, isn't it? What's so interesting is that Volkswagen's success was built on understanding and delivering exactly what people wanted.
Yeah, you're right. They were the kings of reliable, affordable cars for everyone.
Exactly. But the people want something different now. They're looking for EVs with the latest tech. And they want them at a price that Volkswagen hasn't been able to match. At least not yet.
It's almost like they built this massive, super efficient machine for pumping out gas-powered cars.
Yeah.
But now everyone wants electric, and they're stuck trying to retool the entire factory while the machine is still running.
That's a great analogy. It's a massive challenge for them. And that brings us to the most important question. For you, our listener, what do you think the future holds for Volkswagen? Can they reinvent themselves, fully embrace the EV revolution, and become the people's electric car? Or will they become another cautionary tale of a giant that couldn't keep up with the times?
It's a pivotal moment in automotive history. And honestly, I'm not sure what the answer is, but that's what makes it so captivating, right? We're watching a giant grapple with its own legacy, trying to find its footing in a world that's changing faster than ever. Who knows? Maybe Volkswagen will pull off a surprise move and stun us all.
It wouldn't be the first time a company has made a dramatic comeback. And in this world where technology and consumer demands are changing at lightning speed, anything is possible.
That's so true. So to our listeners, keep your eyes peeled because the road ahead is going to be full of twists and turns. This is just the beginning of a brand new chapter in the story of the automobile. We're all along for the ride. And that concludes our deep dive into the challenges facing Volkswagen. Thanks for joining us.